However, the top news of the day is the Supreme Court has ordered a 45-day deadline for a trial court in Delhi to complete the hearing in the case on all the 5 FIRs in connection to the Unnao rape survivors case. The important part is the case has now been transferred from the CBI court in Lucknow to a competent court in Delhi. In the next 1 week, all the transfer formalities will be completed and the proceedings will kickstart thereafter. The court has also noted that the victim, who is battling for her life at the moment at the King George Hospital in Lucknow, would be airlifted sometime in the near future if the family of the victim gives a consent to it. The hospital has informed the Supreme Court that they are completely fine if the victim is airlifted to Delhi and she is able to bear that journey through, because the Supreme Court in the morning had asked for an update in that regard. There's also a very important development regarding the delay in placing the letter before the CGI, which the print was discussing in the question answer session yesterday also. The Supreme Court has now constituted an in-house panel which will be monitored by a sitting Supreme Court judge, and the Secretary General of the Supreme Court has been tasked to conduct the internal probe to see if there was any kind of intentional delay on part of the registry in not placing the letter before the top court. However, in the morning today, the Secretary General said that the Supreme Court receives around 5,000 letters every month, and this time it has gone up to 6,900 letter petitions, and that is why probably they missed out on showing the letter to Chief Justice Ranjan Gogoi. One of the basic questions that comes to the fore, and we have also got one question, is that do you really think, after 2 years or 1.5 years, the Supreme Court passing such an order of transfer to Delhi and its exemplary compensation is too little too late? My friend, if we could just rewind to April this year, we would recount the case of Bilkis Bano. She was a 19-year-old pregnant woman back in 2002 when the Gujarat riots took place, and she was granted a compensation of about 50 lakhs, and the state of Gujarat was asked to pay that amount to Bilkis Bano this April. So it was after 17 years that the top court stepped in to grant this kind of a compensation, whereas now in 1.5 years itself, whether it be the letter before the CJI or it be the suo motu cognizance taken by the top court has ordered a compensation of about 25 lakhs to the victim's family. So this is indeed shows that the top court is gearing up to handle the case. But yes, there are certain glaring loopholes in the way CBI has handled this entire investigating process, especially when the court was apprised about the developments in the cases. They were said that the charge sheets have been filed in all the cases. However, in the 5th case of the accident, the investigations are at a very nascent stage. To that, the top court has now ordered that the investigations in the accident stage will have to be completed by the CGI in the next 1 week. That's a very tight deadline. In 1 week itself, the premier investigating agency has to complete the investigation into the road accident case which took place in Bareilly, which has left the 2 of her aunts of the survivor dead, and she's battling in Lucknow along with her lawyer, who is also battling for his life in a Lucknow hospital. So in this regard, it's a 7-day deadline in which the trial has to be completed, or investigation has to be completed, and however, the court has noted that it can stretch up to 14 days in case of emergency. So that is one point to note here. Okay, we are getting one question which says that why did the Registrar General did not stay the reason why they could not sift through so many letters. So this is a very this is a problem which the Registrar General kind of told the court today, that there are 3 categories or the 3 departments which handles the letter. One is the Registrar General itself, one is the PS category or the personal secretaries, and another is the secretaries of the judges who sifts through all of these letters. So somehow they are saying that they were not aware of the name of the victim and their family members, and in that situation, when they're not aware of the names, especially when it was withheld in any kind of court proceedings, they could not understand from whom the letter has been addressed to the Chief Justice of India, and hence there was this delay. However, the top court has not really bought that argument, and hence the internal probe monitored by the sitting Supreme Court judge has been ordered now. We are getting another question which says that why this is this delay in part of the CBI or in part of the court. A very important part of this entire case is that this trial in the case has not yet begun. The charge sheets have only been filed in the CBI courts, but the hearings and the arguments are yet to take place. So that's a very, at a very nascent stage itself, the apex court has stepped in and has transferred the entire trial to Delhi to a competent court. So now the entire problem of now witnesses being influenced, etc., have to be overseen by the top court itself. The top court has also gone on to say that they will themselves personally select a trial judge by name, and by today evening, hopefully, they'll let out the name of the trial judge who would handle the entire case. There is another very important fact in this entire case is when the Supreme Court had asked the lawyer for the victim that whether at all she's facing some kind of problems in producing their witnesses before the court, etc. One point which came again and again in the court is that whoever was associated with the case as an eyewitness, whether it or as a witness, as a matter of fact, whether it be the aunts or the people associated with the case, one after another they are meeting untimely death. If we remember the case of the rape survivor's father who breathed his last in a police custody, today in the court the CBI said that he was not tortured in police custody, but in fact he was arrested sometime in 3rd April 2018, but before being arrested he was beaten up and he succumbed to his injuries in the police custody. However, this argument did not really meet a solid ground in front of the top court, because the Supreme Court said that there needs to be an investigation in that regard too, as to what happened to the victims or the rape survivor's father. We have another question from Samyak. He says that why is the CBI not producing cogent evidences? So, CBI not producing cogent evidences only comes at a part when the trial has started. The CBI has mentioned before the top court today that charge sheets in all the first 5 cases, charge sheets in the first 4 cases have been already filed. However, the investigations into the accident case have not yet begun. They were only starting rough investigations from July 31st. They have some clues which they obviously could not divulge in their open courtroom due to privacy concerns, and because that would actually give a lowdown as to how they are proceeding with the investigations with the road accident case. So that is the update in that regard. Now the basic question that we are getting is the investigation extremely slow in this case? So the investigation is primarily divided into 2 parts. One is filing the charge sheet and the second is the trial. So as we again mentioned that the trial is yet to begin. So I personally don't think that this is a case where we can commend that justice has been done, or steps have been taken which is too little and too late, because there have been cases where just to give you of course it's not a gang rape case like Bilkis Bano or the Unnao case, but today itself the Supreme Court in one of its judgments have acquitted a milkman who was convicted in way back in 1979, 40 years ago, for an offense of selling adulterated milk under the Food Adulteration Act, and it's after 40 years that the Apex Code acquitted him. So he lost. He was around 30. Now he's around 70. So at 70 years of age, he was proven that he was innocent. So in that situation, we can actually remark that the justice came, but it's too little, too late. But in this case, when the trial is yet to begin, when the police can ensure that the witnesses are protected. In that stage, if the trial is transferred to Delhi, then the remark of being too little, too late does not really hold ground. But indeed, the fact that the top court has pulled up CBI, has pulled up the investigating agency, have pulled up the police officers for delaying the process is itself shows that this process now on will be concluded within a 45-day deadline, and hopefully will give us results that the trial gets over. That was all. We are not getting any questions as of now. We'll keep you updated with the recent developments in the Unnao case. As of now, we don't have any official confirmation from the BJP as to whether the BJP MLA Kuldeep Singh Sengar has indeed been expelled or not. I think we have one question which is coming that from Sai Krishna. We'll take that. That is there a probability for any punitive action against the police for filing false cases against the victim's father? Well, it's a very important question actually, when you say whether there should be a punitive action against the police officers, especially when the center itself today, or the CBI itself today in the top court said that later they came to realize that the cases, after investigation, they realized that the cases which were filed against the father were false. And now we have to understand that these cases were filed by Kuldeep Singh Sengar's family. Of course, there could be a conclusion that it was in connivance with the police officers, but we have to also understand that the Supreme Court did not go into the merits of this case, because the case in front of the court was about the rape survivor, about the lawyer who was struggling on battling for life, and the immediate concern for the top court was to grant them justice. So perhaps your question has been overshadowed today in today's hearing, but this would come up in the trial. This, of course, would come up in the trial as one of the cogent grounds for the prosecution to prove that this entire case was being tried to was trying to be muddied by Kuldeep Singh Sengar's, Shashi Singh's, and its family, and these false cases also formed a part of this attempt, and this will indeed go on to hold as a credible and cogent evidence in the court of law when proven. The punitive action, the trial judge who will now handle the case has all powers to grant or to act against the police officers in this case. When he delivers the judgment in the case, he has all powers to take actions against the police officers who connived with the family members in filing these false cases. If it is proven that in fact they have connived, if it is proven that the police officers weren't aware of the false cases and the family members made up facts and circumstances to prove that these people had indeed, or the victim's family had indeed assaulted the BJP MLA's family, then that's a different story altogether to hold in the court of law. I think we have another question that says that the Supreme Court has said that the victim will get CRPF protection. Okay, what's the use of this protection, and are there any precedents of this? What happens if CBI doesn't finish its investigation in 7 days? So basically, you're coming to your first part of the question. This is only because Senior Advocate V.V. Giri, who's an amicus curiae in the POCSO sexual matters offences case, he went on to say that there must be a central police force guarding the victim and her family members, because of course they have apprehensions of the fact that the state government and the state police will not be acting efficiently as the central government police officers, because there have been reports, confirmed reports in fact, that the victim's family had sent almost 36 SOS messages and letters to the DM, to the local police, stating that they needed protection. However, nothing of that, or no extra protection was granted to them. In fact, the messages were not even acknowledged by the local police station or the district magistrate. So this went on to develop the feeling in their minds that the state government or the state police will not really bear any result if they are guarding or safeguarding the victim's family. So hence this request for the central government police officers were made, and hence the question of CRPF forces being granted arises. Now, what's the use of the protection? Are there any precedents of this? Yes, there have been past incidents when such in West Bengal in 2007, in Chhattisgarh in 2005, in Jharkhand, if I remember correctly, in 2003, there were gang rape incidents when the survivors and the family members were granted CRPF protection for once, when they had expressed apprehensions of the state government police not being efficient in handling the case, and especially when there are such glaring examples in front of the court to take note of. What happens if CBI doesn't finish its investigation in 7 days? Well, the Supreme Court, through Chief Justice of India Ranjan Gogoi, has squarely answered that, and he has gone on to say that if the CBI is not able to complete its investigation within 7 days, then there is an extension granted of 2 weeks. However, in its order, it's categorically noted that they have to and they must complete the investigation within a time-bound manner. If that's not the case, then the Supreme Court, under Article 141 is the law of the land, and they can at any point of time pull up the investigating agency for not completing an investigation as ordered by the top court, unless some unforeseen circumstances crop up before the investigating agency and they're able to prove the same in the court of law. I think that's all the questions we have from our readers and viewers as of now. We'll keep you updated with the developments of the Unnao case. Tomorrow again there'll be a hearing when the court will come to know as to whether the compensation has been paid or not, because the court has given a very strict deadline of 24 hours to the state of Uttar Pradesh to make the payment to the victims in the name of the victim to the victim's mother. So that's again a hearing to look out for tomorrow, and we'll again keep you updated with the same. Please keep checking our videos and theprint.com to stay updated with all the facts. This is Deon Roy for The Print.